Howdy again everyone. In the past few years there's been a bit of a trend for manufacturers to take their macro lenses a step beyond by taking them beyond one-to-one magnification, particularly low budget manufacturers, and now TT Artisan are joining the party with a new 100mm f2.8 macro 2x lens. Its focal length of 100mm is average for a macro lens, giving you a little space to work with when doing macro photography and getting your backgrounds a little more compressed, which are both helpful for more dedicated and experienced macro photographers. The trade-off is that it's a bit harder to get sharp images at a longer focal length without using a tripod. It's a totally manual lens and it'll be available on Sony E, Canon RF, Leica L, Nikon Z, Fuji X, Fuji GFX medium format, Nikon F, and Canon EF mounts, almost everything. Its price is $319 make it potentially very good value. I'd like to thank TT Artisan very much for sending me a copy of this lens for testing, although as usual this is a totally independent review. The lens is somewhat large and weighs about 2.5 pounds or a little over 700 grams. The lens is very tough and metallic, being built upon a metal mount without any weather sealing. At the rear there's a metallic aperture ring with gentle clicks, but with the f-stops spaced out unevenly. Then comes the metallic focus ring. The good news is that it turns extremely smoothly. The bad news is that its focus throw could have done with being a little longer, and thus, at normal distances, taking a portrait picture, the focus throw is a bit small, so it's not easy to get your subject properly sharp, although in fairness, it's not as fiddly as the Astra Hori 120mm lens that I tested recently. For anyone interested, and as usual for a macro lens, this thing suffers from heavy focus breathing, zooming way in as you focus more closely to your subject, which can make focusing close up a little tricky, although as I say, this is normal for virtually all macro lenses. And as I mentioned already, this lens is totally manual, so no autofocus, no camera controlled aperture. The lens has a 67mm front filter size and does not come with a hood, which is a little surprising even for a low budget offering. It does have screw points for macro lights though. Overall, the lens's build quality is very tough, although I do wish its focus ring turned just a little more precisely. Okay, let's take a look at image quality now by testing it on a Sony a7R III with its 42MP full frame sensor. No in-camera corrections are available with this lens. At f2.8 in the middle of the image, we see excellent sharpness and beautiful contrast. Over in the corners, image quality is still very sharp, right up until you reach the very edges. Hardly a problem on a lens designed for macro and portrait work. Stop down to f4, f5.6 or f8 for gradual improvements in sharpness and contrast, leading to great corner image quality, although we do start to see a touch of colour fringing there on contrasting edges, just a touch. The lens stays this sharp down to f11, although f16 starts picking up some noticeable softness due to diffraction. Overall though, for such a low budget lens, it's a brilliant performance here. This might be the sharpest TT Artisan's lens I have ever tested. And for the sake of completeness, let's test the lens on a 24MP APS-C camera too. Again, we're seeing brilliant sharpness and contrast in the middle, straight from f2.8. Corner image quality also looks fantastic here, with minuscule improvements at f4 and f5.6. Again, the lens stays this sharp down to f11. So yeah, TT Artisans, give yourselves a big pat on the back here. This is one brilliantly sharp lens, even on APS-C, especially considering its low price. Alright, it's a macro lens, so let's see about close-up image quality. At f2.8, sharpness and contrast are as excellent as ever, although we're seeing a touch of purple fringing on contrasting edges here. At f4, it goes away. However, already at f5.6, just a touch of softness is beginning to emerge. Remember, diffraction kicks in earlier at close distances, and we're working at quite a magnification here. f8 is starting to look soft, and f11 and f16 look very weak. However, that really isn't the lens's fault, it's just due to the laws of physics that God has instituted. Diffraction really is an issue at such close distances. Let's look at distortion and vignetting now. The lens projects only a touch of pincushion distortion here, and impressively almost no vignetting, even at f2.8. Here's f4 and f5.6, where there's barely any difference. What a great performance! If you get the version for Fuji GFX medium format, then I'm sure you'd have no problems with coverage here. Very impressive. Less encouraging is this lens's work against bright light, which is below average. As you can see, the lens picks up a fair bit of flaring and glaring and loses contrast quite easily. I wish TT Artisan had provided a hood with this lens. Anyway, let's see about the quality of its bokeh. It's a real strong point. As you can see here, its bokeh always looks lovely and soft, even with quite strong specular highlights there. And finally, related to bokeh comes longitudinal chromatic aberration. We are seeing a little pink before the plane of focus here and green beyond, but nothing too disastrous. It's still there at f4, but at f5.6 it's mostly gone. Overall, well, brilliant work from TT Artisans here. The lens is very sharp with excellent contrast, quite nice build quality, soft bokeh, and of course an amazing magnification ability. I'd be curious to try it out on medium format one day. I bet it's great. Its only weak point is some flaring and glaring, so keep it away from bright light. But the lens is brilliant value for money and good for portrait work too, if you're willing to shoot manual focus, that is. Considering its low price, I'm gonna go ahead and say highly recommended. Wow, what a performance! I love it when very low budget lenses catch you by surprise like that. And if you found this review helpful and regularly watch my videos, then check out my Patreon page in the description below, where supporters get all kinds of exclusive bonus content, as well as early access to all kinds of reviews. Ciao for now, everyone.